Good morning, comrades. You are listening to WHIVLP New Orleans 102.3. This is your weekly Good Morning Comrade. Jeff and Robert here on the show, back from a bit of an unplanned hiatus. We've been both kind of going through it. I know, Robert, you were working through a lot of Mardi Gras stuff, and I've been packing and moving. I'm moving to the south side of Richmond now. So,
oh, you're Richmond from Richmond now.
Well, not just that. I'm so rich that our landlords decided that they were going to sell, and y'all got to get out of here. The classic.
I know somebody that's going through that right now. I have a friend in she lives in the quarter, and they're going through that right now to where they're soft evicting people just by refusing to renew their lease, and then but they gave her an option to buy. It'd be like $130,000 for a place like literally in the quarter, which you think that's cool until it ain't, because she doesn't drive, but to drive, you don't have a parking spot. I mean, at some point you're going to want to go to, because she's always like, oh, can you take me to Costco? And I'm like, yeah, I can, but also where you live sucks. It's just one of those things. You think you want to live in the French Quarter in Louisiana and have a parade go down your street until you actually have to live in the French Quarter in Louisiana. So I get that. Landlords are terrible. As somebody who is a landlord, because my wife and we rent out the other side of our house. It's I don't know, I'm trying to make it so people who don't live in New Orleans can understand this, but it's a multifamily house. But that
double.
It's a double. If you live in New Orleans, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And we actually lowered the rent because we just didn't want to go. We understand that, because I had a discussion with our tenant, and I was like, hey, your lease is coming up. And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, what if we took $100 off the rent so you don't want to move? And she was like, oh. I was like, did you think I was going to raise it? And she said, yeah. And I was like, nah, because I'm like, one, don't want to go through this anymore. And then two, understand that we're not a management company, so when things happen, you give us a couple days. Her fridge broke when I was in Costa Rica last week, and that's a whole story. And so we had to coordinate from Costa Rica to get her a new fridge, which wasn't that big a deal, but it's just something it's just it's just one of those things to where it's you can't, it's just two people and not a management company. So, and I know that's against I always joke to be well, just speak, highly of us, when the revolution kicks off at our tribunal, at our struggle session. Just do that. That's the best thing you can do for us, because it's so funny. It being a landlord fucked me up so much, to the point where I actually had a friend of mine, a guy I know who's he's a traveler, and he lived in a squat. He's he was in a leftist gun club, the whole bit. And I told him that kind of out of shame. And I'm like, man, I don't know what to do. And he goes, well, it's like this. He's like, what's the rent? And I told him what the rent was. He goes, that's well below market value. He goes, well, here are your options. He's like, turn into a squat, a punk house, and it's going to be destroyed. You could try to make a shit ton of money off of it, which you're not doing. Or you could move into the whole thing, which, you could tear the wall down and move into the whole thing. And now you've just taken affordable housing off the market. He's like, you're doing the right thing. And I'm like, as best you can. I'm like, well, thanks. I hope you're not just saying that. But it does kind of fuck me up a little bit. But it would just be without it, it would just be wasted housing. That would be, so we let a management company do it. It would be well above market value. So it's one of those things. Like I said, when my struggle session comes, I'll have to atone for it. But such is life. Y'all can unsubscribe from Good Morning Comrade if you want to, I guess. It is what it is.
Yeah, or you could subscribe to Good Morning Comrade and listen to us every week and hear the absolute pain and anguish that a real life landlord has to go through all the time when they actually.
It's and it's not anybody tells you it's work. It's not especially now in the year of our Lord 2026. It's not no, you don't. You take somebody's money to live somewhere. And it's almost like insurance, to be honest with you. That's really what renting is paying for more than anything. It's it's an insurance to say hey, if I'm renting this place out and if something goes wrong with it, I don't have to worry about getting it fixed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what it actually should be if we're gonna be landlords. But
if somebody has to own the property, that's not the person living there. It's the next, or like probably, I guess maybe the slightly less than the worst thing that we have currently.
Yeah, no, 100%. I don't know. During like, yeah, that's really it. But yeah, things have gone like, I don't know. I don't say things have gone bad personally for me, but it's like it's just been a whole rigmarole. And now,
buddy,
sleepwalking into World War III.
Yeah.
I
will say that your tribunal will probably come like really late in line. Like there's a lot of people in line in front of you that are heavier offenders. I will tell you that.
Yeah, sure. I have no problem with the struggle session. Like, a re-education camp. Like, let's go get re-educated a lot. But most of these cats they're not even educated in the first place to go get re-educated. That's funny you say that. I was actually listening to Sam Cedar, the Majority Report, the other day, and he said something really enlightening, kind of on the same topic. And he said, I used to get people calling me when him and Janine Garofalo used to do Morning Sedition in the 90s, or not the 90s, like the 2010s ish,
post 9/11,
definitely was post 9/11 because I was out of the Marine Corps. Listen to Air America, and people would call him and say like, oh, he's like, I'm a liberal and this and that. See, they're like, see, you admit it, you're a liberal, that's disgusting, like blah 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 blah. And now he said the other end of that, you get right wingers and reactionaries calling him and say that. He says now the other end of that is just like, oh, people call up and says, oh, they're calling him a liberal as a pejorative on the other end. It's a leftist calling him liberal, and he's like, I much rather live in this world than the one I came from in the 2010s. He's like, it's fine if the children have passed me by. It's like no problem with that. That's like, yeah, no, that's completely reasonable. That's I say about getting older. And I feel like my politics are just becoming more hardened, but just more left hardened, obviously, it's just the crumbling the state of late stage capitalism. But I want to, if I live long enough, I want to like understand the children on a level of, well, I don't get it, but I hope you're having fun. And as long as you're not hurting anybody, then I'm good with it. But yeah, I went to, I had the obligatory blow up with the in-laws in Costa Rica, which was hilarious. I think Jeff just dropped. Yeah, he's on Wi-Fi. He just dropped, but that's all right. I can carry this. So after Mardi Gras, I was super busy with Mardi Gras for work stuff. And then after Mardi Gras, I took a air quote. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, the air quote vacation to Costa Rica with my my in-laws. My father-in-law and his new wife who own property in Costa Rica. And we had the obligatory, we had the blow up. It's a long story. It was, he thought that my wife bought something from a local vendor. He thought that she was getting scammed. He got huffy about it. I was fine. The moral of the story is I was fine with her having, whatever argument she's going to have with her father. That's their relationship. But it got into it to where his wife interjected herself and started talking to my wife. It's crazy. And I was like, well, that's not going to happen. So I come in off the top rope, as I do, incredibly hyperbolic. And I said, no, this ain't going to go down like this. And we fought about it. And I pretty much dropped the, the 20s, I guess, were the banana wars, right? I pretty much dropped, 80 years of U.S. colonial history on him in about the span of 2 minutes. And pretty much, not that they're bad people for buying a home in a place like that, but how buying a home in a place like that and not understanding where they were and still having the attitudes that they have, it's kind of gross. And maybe they should, did they ever think about, hey, we have the money and the ability to live anywhere in the world, and somehow we found ourselves buying property in a home in a country that's friendly to Americans. For some reason, it was really easy to buy property in one of the most beautiful places that exist on Earth, and not knowing why. I felt some kind of way about it, and I didn't want to get hyperbolic about it, and especially on record here on the show. But I felt that it did need to be addressed, like for my own mental health, and just as kind of, I don't know. I was going on. Jeff just came back. I was going on about Costa Rica and how I gave you the Cliff's Notes version. You know, my in-laws own property in Costa Rica, and you know, they got into it with my wife about something that was pretty dumb, and I did what Robert does, and I came off the top rope, and I gave them about 100 years of, you know, U.S. imperialism and colonial history in Central America in about 2 minutes. And how,
I mean, what just happened in Venezuela like not even 2 months ago?
Right. And how I gave, you know, the whole banana wars, and, you know, I started quoting Smedley Butler, and how it was like, it's amazing. And I just said, when you were gone, I said how it was amazing that you were able to buy property here in a so easily as an American, and in the most beautiful place, one of the most beautiful places on Earth, and never realized why that was such an easy thing for you to do. That you could have chosen to live anywhere on Earth, and this was just like an easy place for you to just slide on into, and you've never given two minutes to think about how that came to be. And I actually didn't want to, like, I did want to address this before, like, you know, the prelude to World War III kicked off a couple days ago. I thought so much about it that I actually wrote a script, because I just didn't want to just rant and rave. Like, I feel like it's really important.
You put pen to paper. You did homework.
I put pen to paper. I really thought about it. So I guess I'll just lay that out here. All right. So here it is. Not to spare feelings, but to get my ideas across in a way that might influence people, instead of them thinking, what a-hole. It doesn't matter if you're, and feel free to stop me when we got to do, we're almost to 15. Might as well just do it now.
WHIVLP New World. WHIVLP New Orleans 102.3. This is Good Morning Comrade. End all wars. Right. End this war in particular.
In this war yesterday. It doesn't matter if you're right or not, or if the message doesn't get through. This is personal for me, because I've tried to live a life of little to no compromise on my values, even when my values change with new information. I've tried to correct my behavior as fast as I possibly could, so here goes nothing. Costa Rica is one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen with my own two eyes. Stunning mountains, immaculate coastlines, beautiful, welcoming people, fascinating ecosystem. For many people, it is heaven on earth, but when you gently scratch the surface and just take the minuscule amount of time to learn its surface level history, you'll be forever in two camps. One camp I call the Pura Vida people. The phrase Pura Vida is equivalent of no worries or hang loose. This attitude,
Margaritaville stuff.
Exactly. This attitude permeates Costa Rica's main export, which is Western tourism and expat land ownership. It's the bubble that those who come to this island get to live in. The hippies that turned into yuppies get to live the dream of finally tuning out the world around them. But that cloud they float in is supported firmly on the backs of the Costa Ricans that they look down on. Maybe it's direct racism and classism. Maybe it's living in a house on a hill, physically looking down on them. Or maybe it's the infantilization of the native residents by stating over and over again in syrupy, sweet tones that the people here are such hard workers. Ignoring
Can I pause you right there?
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember I was watching one of the most poisoned shows in the history of the world. It's called House Hunters. And they were like it was like the rich people's House Hunters version, where they were like buying an island. And they said that, like, oh, you know, one of the potential downsides of buying this island is that there are indigenous people that live on the island, and we might have to do something about it.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
Anyway, continue.
No, you're good. Like I said, so maybe it's the syrupy sweet tones that the people here are such hard workers, ignoring the reality that no matter how hard they work, they will never be able to live even the fraction of the life you lead in their own country. The country that you were able to just swoop in and slice up and buy up right from underneath them. Personally, I've never known anyone that wasn't a hard worker, besides the people who feel they can pass judgment on people in a lower socioeconomic class than them. When you visit or live in a place like Costa Rica, that depends so much on your enjoyment of their birthright, you have to read between the lines. Look at the faces when they aren't serving you and dig a little deeper into where you are. If your sensibilities can handle such a thing. In my opinion, you have to be a complete person. To be a Westerner in these places, you have to train your body and ego to sit with discomfort. A thing I will always remember until the day I die is Club Banana. Without a doubt, one of the coolest bars I've been to on earth. It's loud, it's no frills, it feels like a living room. My tour guide, it's everything I like. My tour guide asked me what I had done in town, and I told him my new favorite watering hole. He looked me straight in the eye, let out a long sigh, and said, "I'm really glad you enjoyed it. There's so much history there." That was the tone that let me know that's all I need. That's all I can tell you, because I need to protect your sensibilities and your good time. But it was all I needed to know to send me on a deep dive. I'm a Marine Corps veteran, so I have some knowledge of banana wars already, but not of Costa Rica's involvement, or to be accurate, non-involvement. But I'll cover that in a bit. With just a single Google search, I learned the significance of Club Banana is that it exists in the Zona Americana, the racially and economically segregated part of Capos, Costa Rica, that's the name of the town, that had the best amenities, best schools, best water, best food, that was only available to Western business class residents of the town who work for the corporate side of United Fruit. So what I'm talking about is
one of the most evil companies on earth.
Evil companies on earth, 100%. It's like the Coca-Cola, United Fruit, East India Company. There's a couple more I can think of. They're just absolute, just evil. 100%. So what I'm talking about is an apartheid system not enforced by government or local laws, but by Western government's real masters, capital. An effing banana company, an evil, murderous organization that hides its literal crimes against humanity behind its new face of the Chiquita Corporation. A company that at its zenith was more powerful than nations, destroyed and raped Central America and its people. And just like coal companies in America, violently crushed labor movements and compensated its de facto slave labor force with script, forcing them to depend on United Fruit for their survival. Costa Rica is often called the Switzerland of Latin America. This is quite inaccurate. It's closer to France. It's really the Vichy France of Latin America. The only reason it survives and thrives while neighboring countries suffer with governmental instability caused by the United States is because it's submitted to capitalist rule by United Fruit. The Costa Rican government sold out and allowed the pillaging and brutal exploitation of their natural resources and their people. The United Fruit Company used Costa Rica as a model country, an example of what could happen if you didn't resist their exploitation. You need to recognize as well that these forces haven't gone away. Travel the country and you'll see row after row of palm oil plantations that cut through where rainforest once was. Look up business blogs and articles and you'll see the new craze industry Costa Rica is touting is the budding microprocessor manufacturing industry, guided by the United States, no doubt, as its military is overstretched in its predictable decline, so we can no longer guarantee our hold on Taiwan as a vassal state to make us chips. With all that said, I'm not against its tourism or rich expats moving there. We all need to live somewhere. I moved on a whim to New Orleans, Louisiana, got half a job and no money, but I understand that I am too a gentrifier, but without the gentry. There's no way I could have made a life for myself here pre-Hurricane Katrina. The cost of living was simply too high. I love it here, and I've done my best to assimilate myself to the culture I love. I even work for city government. But if you're traveling to a third world country, and I don't have any problem calling any place a third world country, in 2026, I see that as a point of pride, not something to be ashamed of. Hell, at least in those countries, poverty makes sense. Unlike here in America, where there is zero reason for it besides a threat by capital to compel you to sell your labor for a fraction of its value. But again, if you're going to travel to these places, let alone buy property there, you should at least, at a minimum, have a surface level knowledge of where you're at. And the reason why when you visit a Holocaust museum, there's a reason why when you visit a Holocaust museum, the gift shop is not in the front, it's in the back. You have to go through the whole uncomfortable ordeal before you can purchase a treat. When you ignore this very recent history, it feels like a choice that reveals more about the emperor and not the child that points out he's naked. End. But nice. Yeah, I mean, I had way more venom than that. And that's as silly as that's written. That's the person I'd rather be. But you know me, like I'm hyperbolic, and I don't take back anything I said. But I just wish I could not raise people. I wish I'm not this like orb of logic, but I do have I do have thicker skin than most people, and maybe that's a combination of growing up poor, and also honestly the Marine Corps. Like people raising voices and people yelling things does not make me defensive. But to most people it does, and I need to understand that. But it's like the point still stands. Like there's a reason why you live there and not in Guatemala or in Honduras or any other countries that the United States and with the United States has not decimated for United Fruit.
And you just need to recognize where you're at. It's not decimated because they've played balls for such a long time.
Right. Yeah.
And everybody who doesn't play ball with the American Empire, like they're made an example of, essentially. I mean, that's not just in Central and South America, though. That's where we have most of our history of doing that, and more modern history. And we can sort of use that as our transition to countries that are not within America's quote unquote backyard, but places abroad. I'm talking about Iran.
See, this is even crazier to me. So now you get like the unfiltered me. This is even crazier because at least, I mean, I'm saying this flippantly, like the people who died in labor uprisings in Guatemala, Honduras, and all those other Central American countries, they were dying. They were being murdered by capital. This war is these people, the Iranian children were murdered on the first day in a calculated strike to soothe the pride of a pedophile. That's what we're talking about. And I have so many feels. One, all the people who are dying, all the people, even the Americans, the 6 Americans who that number is BS. That number, I'm sorry, it's more. I'm not saying that the Iranians are. I'm sitting at work while we're slow walking into World War III on Telegram all day,
feeling insane.
Feeling insane while people are calling my office asking for the most mundane stuff. But they're talking about on Telegram. The IRGC says they've killed like 500 Americans or something. I don't believe that. But I definitely believe it's way higher than 6. I was looking at, apparently they're starting to leak their names. And there was one guy who died in Kuwait from a drone strike. National Guardsman, pretty much 40 minutes away from where I grew up in Polk County, Florida, right? Dorkiest dude you've ever seen. I don't mean that this is not, when I say the dorkiest, nerdiest dude I ever seen, I'm not saying this as like a disrespect to the guy who died. What's his name? Let's see here. Well, I was about to say it doesn't matter, but it does matter. Let's at least, if we're going to talk about the man, let's at least say his name. Americans dead in Iran war. American died in Iran war. Let's see his name. Well, I'm looking for that.
And just while you're setting that up, just so that people who are living under a rock for the past 5 days, on Friday, America decided, along with Israel, our best buddy ever, the coolest country that we hang out with all the time, that is doing a genocide in Palestine, we just decided that we were going to do what John McCain was singing about in 2008, bomb Iran, and essentially sent multiple strikes into Iran that again just killed tons of civilians. I don't have counts in front of me right now, but then also decided that they were just going to kill the leader of that country, Supreme Leader Khamenei.
Right. So I found his name, Captain Cody Cork. Like I said, dorkiest name ever. 35 of Winter Haven, Florida. Cork enlisted in the National Guard in 2009 and was commissioned as a military police officer in the Army National Reserve in 2014. Now, when I keep calling him a dork, and what I'm trying to do is, like, if you look at a picture of this guy, he looks like he'd be best friends with Pee Wee Herman. And what I mean by that is I'm trying to humanize him. I'm trying to get you into an idea of this is not like full spectrum Call of Duty warrior. This is a guy,
not an operator in a movie.
This is a guy who I know his mindset. I'm telling you, as a Marine Corps veteran myself, like, this is a guy who joined, who said, you know what? I'm going to join the reserves 2 weekends a month. I get a little money.
That's literally what they advertised it as.
Maybe there's hurricanes in Florida. I'll probably have to deploy to pull a kitten out of a tree during a hurricane or something like that. Never in his mind did he think that he was going to spill his guts in Kuwait for a pedophile. That's what we're talking about, people. We're talking about people like you. We're talking about people like me. We're talking about people like your neighbors. We're not talking about Call of Duty characters. Mm-hmm. We're talking about people who are just poor in the poverty draft, trying to make a way, trying to make a life for themselves. And as Donald Trump says, that's the way it is. That's the way it is.
No, that was a sacrifice we're willing to make. He said that literally day one.
This guy should be with his, this goofy looking dude should be alive with his goofy looking family, going to Disney twice a year, mowing his grass once a week, and on the, wife is on the PTA and he's on the local bowling league. He should not be brought back in pieces from Kuwait. This man should, the way he's from Winter Haven, Florida, he should not, honest to God, living here in the Imperial Corps, he should not be able to find Kuwait on a map, let alone breathe his last breath there. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not being disrespectful. I'm just saying this is an average dude who never in his wildest dreams, even me as a dumb 17-year-old with a bad concept of history, who didn't have really any concept of history, and so I started hardcore reading books when I was in the Marine Corps, thought, I'm in the Marine Corps. It's going to be like, at worst, it'll be like Aliens. I'll be an ultimate badass before they kill me. At worst, I'll be Hudson and go out throwing rounds down range and I'll get killed or something like that. There's no way this ever crossed his mind. There's no way. And it shouldn't have. His birthright was to be born in the most powerful, richest country on earth and to have a comfortable life. And I know I just went on the screed about capital, but I'm just trying to say, like this is crazy that we send our sons and daughters to die in places that they can't even spell, pronounce, or find on a map for these dudes' egos.
Mm-hmm. And they don't even know why. I mean, quite frankly, other than America, do it for America or whatever. I mean,
you got Lindsey Graham talking about avenge. This is why I'm so pissed off. You got Lindsey Graham talking about avenge the Beirut barracks bombing for the Marine Corps.
Mm-hmm.
Take your old closeted ass over there, then.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
And again, to contextualize this whole thing, America has been essentially like Israel. This has literally been a 40-year project of Benjamin Netanyahu and the most bellicose components of Israel to go to war with Iran because of, I mean, if you want to actually talk about the history of this whole thing, we can do that right after station ID, WHIVLP New Orleans 102.3. This is Good Morning Comrade. In the 1950s, the United States decided, in partnership with the British government, to overthrow Mossadegh or to have the Shah replace him because the Iran wanted to nationalize the oil. And the British Petroleum Company, BP, those green gas stations, the one that dumped all that oil into the Gulf of Mexico about 16 years ago. Remember that?
Yeah.
They decided that, well, we can't let them nationalize their oil. That's our oil, essentially. And they essentially overthrew the effective government of Iran and replaced it with a one that was much more friendly towards them, which was, again, because it was so repressive, overthrown in the 1970s. And that's who's been in charge ever since.
And that's what I mean. Like, this is even worse because that's an evil that I can understand. Does that make sense? Like, that's an evil I could be like, oh, it's rich people wanting to be rich and richer.
The same stuff with the United Fruit Company in Costa Rica.
Right. And like, it's rich. It's still evil. You still get the wall, but it's rich people trying to be rich. It's logical. And maybe like some of that would, like the Roman Empire of old, maybe some of that would trickle down to the hoi polloi. I mean, trickle down economics that's not a thing, but you know what I mean? Like, there was a period after
it's a lie that you can understand.
Yes. This is to literally protect pedophiles, dude. And for people's and for Marco Rubio's ego. Like,
well, that's what
this is crazy.
I think the deflection from the Epstein stuff or whatever is less the case, and it's much more of a we need to make sure that we're so basically what I see it as is that there is sort of a vision or a feeling in America that this situation can't stand, that a lot of the public sentiment has turned heavily against Israel, and essentially, I mean, you even see it from the Trump administration not even trying to sell this thing to the United States or to the people of the United States. They're not even doing, they had the lazy reports of, oh, there's Iranian uprisings happening down there. Iran has decided to murder its own civilians while we're also murdering our own civilians here. But then they just decide, you know what? It's Friday night. Just launch the missiles and bomb the schools and all this other stuff. And I mean, again, it's one of these sorts of things where they're doing it only because they can, and they in a future period they're either going to be dead or they won't be able to do it. They'll be displaced from power. And this is something that somebody like Benjamin Netanyahu has been pushing for our entire lives.
Our entire lives. But this is where you and I are going to diverge because I'm sorry, like I swallowed the Kool-Aid of just like, oh, and again, we're gonna do the disclaimer. Zionism is not Judaism. Judaism is not Zionism. But like, what do they have on you, dog? Like, what does Mossad have on you? Because again, with the logic, like what you just laid out to me, I doesn't make any sense. Because okay, Marco Rubio is going to stand up there and say, oh, the reason why we had to attack Iran is because we knew when Israel attacks Iran and there's nothing we can do about it with our own weapons, then they're going to attack our assets. So we have to attack them first. That on its face makes no sense. And if you watch his press conference today, where he was gently pushed back on by American press, he looked like he was about to pee himself because he was trying to walk all that back, but the cat's already out of the bag. So, I mean, you're telling me that the United States has agency and Israel's our attack dog, but like the tail is wagging the dog, and I need to know why. And the only thing that makes any sense to me is what do they have on these gross monsters? And other than that, and the second part of it is like this thing is so it doesn't even feel like an American operation because okay, recent history. Let's take Maduro. Totally disgusting, totally illegal, but it makes logical sense. The CIA laid the groundwork down that they had buy-in that, hey, we can come in, we can grab this one guy and be out and install a friendly government official. We've been doing that since 1776, bro. We've been doing that since my Marine Corps came alive in 1775, right? But do you really think that, and maybe it is, maybe we're just in a place where the United States is so racist, the Orientalism of it all, that they really thought they were playing Call of Duty or Command and Conquer. Actually, that's not even true. This doesn't even work in video games. That they were going to go and kill an 80-something-year-old man who and no disrespect to any Iranians or any Muslims, but an 80-something-year-old man who spends his days thinking about what new types of pork should he tell people not to eat, somehow killing this one man in his living room was going to somehow topple the government. That's not the America. That's not the America I know.
Not just
that's
that,
not the CIA I know.
Not just that, like Iran is a state of 93 million people. Iran, and just like looking historically back, is probably one of the architects of what we know now as the modern bureaucratic state. Are you telling me that they don't have a succession program in place for their 85-year-old supreme leader?
87-year-old who
they have 100 people on a list of succession at this point.
Like I said, it would be, it would be like we talked about the Trump assassination attempts, and it's just like if you had the same thing, like if you had a clear, let's say, in a hypothetical world, if you could, hit Donald Trump with a Nerf bat, like, would you take it? They'd be like, no, because what good would it do? It wouldn't do anything. He's just the figurehead. Like, the things that are in place are still going to be in place. The continuity of government is still in place. And to think that we have CIA, I'm sorry, either we have completely fallen off as a brutal empire that projects power throughout the world, or we have been so brainwashed by video games and movies, and the CIA never had this kind of motion. And it's I don't think it's this or that, bro. I don't understand.
I don't think it's this or that. I think it's a confluence of things, and probably a part of it is what you mentioned earlier, the sort of like assuaging the ego of a pedophile, but also the America fell off. Oh, America is trying to do the last gasp and try and do the thing, and the CIA is nowhere near as smart as it is, and it's arrogance. It's all of the stuff. It's not one particular thing. It is all of those things.
Yeah. I mean, I sit at work and I'm watching this, and it's like, of course, like, death to America. Like, of course, like the empire, like all of this must end. Like, this must, whether it be in our lifetime or the next lifetime, like we're in late stage capitalism. This empire must be broken for the security of the world. And we always knew, like, if you're a leftist, like, you always knew this was going to happen. We were going to overextend. We were going to get, our nose broken. And then
Iran has hands. Iran's got hands.
Hopefully we'd be like the UK and just kind of like slowly slink back into the corner. But I'm terrified because it's like, I don't want to be hyperbolic about, like, not hyperbolic. I don't want to be giddy when I see like the empire falling apart, because I know at the end of the day, like, not even us, like, we can't control Israel for whatever reason, the Epstein files, Mossad, whatever they got on us, we can't control Israel. And we know Israel has nukes. So it's like, I can't even be like, well, I hope it all falls apart. I hope Tel Aviv falls apart, because they'll go to the Samson option and end the world. I'm not so sure that Donald Trump won't do the same on the way out. This whole thing is like a Western death cult. And there's nobody, this is the first like real war, I think, in my lifetime, because there's really, when I say that, it's like the real ramifications of war. It's not like there's nobody to cheer for. Yeah. There's no like, well, I hope the good side wins, because, the bad guys at any moment can end the world, and the bad guys are us. Like, NATO is dead. You got Poland. I don't know if you saw it today. Poland says, oh, we're getting nukes. We're working on it right now, because they're seeing what's happening to the Gulf states. The whole reason the Gulf states aren't armed, because we're their security blanket. And as soon as Israel is threatened, we're recoiling from the Gulf states, and not only leaving them on the chopping block to be hit by the Iranians, leaving our own service members like that army guy I just talked about to get murdered. We're not, the HIMARS and the Patriot missile systems aren't there to protect them. They've all got to be kept in Israel for some reason. It goes back. This is a conversation we've been having for so long, to where it's like, there's something else going on here, because I don't understand, as brutal and disgusting as they are, why we cannot have the same arrangement. I'm being as cynical Of course, I don't want this. I want these colonial cancerous growths to wither and die. But I'm being as cynical as possible. You've heard me say this. Why can we not have the same arrangement that we have with Israel with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia? Something else is going on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. It just is. Like, you can't really. I'm fully all in now on like
whatever the reasoning is. I mean, you can also see the progression, right? Like, how could you, if you're an insane bloodthirsty monster like Benjamin Netanyahu, you can essentially see that America will allow you to carry out a genocide with like maybe a crossword here or there, but ultimately materially supporting them entirely throughout 110% while they're bombing schools, bombing hospitals, bombing neighborhoods, and then bombing the tents that they put up when those neighborhoods are down, not allowing any media into it, and just covering for them every step of the way, not just Republicans, but also Democrats. And with zeal, how could you, if you're, that, monstrous demon, piece of S, not then come to the same realization that, wait a minute, we could do anything anywhere in the world and America will have our back 10 million%.
Exactly.
It's just like there is no break. There's no backstop to any of this. The only backstop that there is potentially is Iran itself. And China. But China, I mean, they've historically not gotten involved. They might look at opportunity. I mean, these things like this as opportunities to do what we did in Honduras to Taiwan. I doubt they will anytime soon. But how could you look at what the United States did to not Honduras, to Venezuela just now, and then the United States comes and says, like, why did you replace, the leadership of Taiwan? Why did you do that? It's like, you just did that in Venezuela.
All that's dead, dude. All that's dead. It's not
the rules-based order is breaking down.
It's a scramble for the world. Like, it's broken. Like I said, like, NATO's not going to survive this. I doubt the UN will survive this, because the UN's always been garbage, and it's weird that, like, even myself,
so meaningless.
Like, I was just talking to my wife, like, we were both as kids in Model UN, and it really took until we really got invested. I don't know why I couldn't realize this until we got really invested in the plight of the Palestinian people to be like, oh, this is a scam. Like, the Security Council is a scam. It's not even a poison pill. It's a poisonous wall. Like, the idea that this impeachable small number of countries can just overwrite and overrule the whole United Nations and whatever they decide is crazy. And of course, it's never going to work.
You know what the United Nations is? It's literally just a punching bag, like a political punching bag for domestic United States policy. So I even remember back, like, when, George W. Bush would go to speak to the UN and talk about how bad Kim Jong-un is or whatever, and like literally saying the United Nations wants us to stop this, and global war on terror, all this other stuff. Why would you even need to do that when you already know that you have the automatic win button for every single thing, when you can when you're on the Security Council and you can just say no to anything that they're going to do? You only do that because they're a domestic political punching bag. That's the only thing. That's the only reason it exists.
Yeah, it's like they set up a world democracy that functions just like our own. It's just
they set up a nice idea.
Yeah, it's a liberal pressure valve to be.
Yeah, well, not even pressure. Like, it's just a nice idea so that people can think that there is, like, actually some control in the world, and every country that's a part of the United States, the United Nations, has a say, and it's this really, like, student government idea of, like, how the world works. You know what I mean? Liberals just get so rock hard over that kind of stuff.
No, they really do, like the West Wing liberals. But I mean, I would like to say that I feel like the hoi polloi is coming around, but like, yeah, like you said, Democrats, are supporting this.
We'll talk about Democrats on the other side of Station ID. You're listening to WHIVLP New Orleans 102.3. You know what my favorite thing about all this stuff is? Because immediately, I'm sorry, I know you were going to say something.
No.
I am so, like, warmed up right here. My favorite thing, I cannot wait to hear Charles Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries talk about how, wow, Donald Trump is taking out Iran and doing all these, powerful things to this horrible country, but that we hate and we can't stand, and we hate Iran. But he's intentionally attacking them and he killed the Ayatollah. But you know what? Why wouldn't he let Congress just rubber stamp it? Why wouldn't he give us the time to fill out all the forms and check all the procedural boxes and do all the stupid lame-o stuff that nobody cares about except for them? And that's like been the pat line by Democrats to essentially just say, like, we're actually opposed to what they're going, but not really. I mean, there was Mark Kelly, the space guy. He was married to Gabrielle Gifford, or is married to Gabrielle Giffords, the one that was shot in the head like a decade ago. He was asked the question as to whether or not he would support the War Powers Act that was in Congress that would essentially say, hey, actually, Congress is supposed to have a say in this. And he was like, oh, I don't know. I'd have to take a look at it. Probably won't support it. It's just like, oh, okay. Like Democrats are just like all 100%, 10 times just like balls to the wall on this whole thing. They just want to have like the lamest excuse for why they just like have to be critical of the president. And it's just like nobody's buying that except for the like political class.
Yeah, you're starting to static real bad. You hit a wire or something. The thing that it's a really kind of disgusting. I don't know. I mean, it's a dystopian best of times, Dickens, worst of times, because nobody's buying this war of aggression for no reason. But also
at least John Fetterman, who I hate, has the dignity to be a proper bloodthirsty warmonger, right?
Yeah. But also the American people aren't buying, like, they're trying to sell Iran as like this existential threat, and then they're already trying to, this whole idea of they're trickling out our losses because we're still trying to project strength, which we don't have anymore. But they're also like, oh, now because this is what I assume they would do, is put Americans in harm's way, like they're doing, unprotected, get them killed, and then use that as a justification to work from a backwards justification of why we need to be in a war with Iran. But that's not working, because here in America, like, it's almost like the reason why it doesn't work in Iran, the reason why it doesn't work in Palestine, of like, we're going to kill so many people and you're just going to give up, is because that's just their lives. Like, that's the existential dread and pressure that everybody who's not a Middle Eastern client state of the US just permanently lives with, has the sword of Damocles over their head. So they can absorb losses much more than us because they're fighting for their existential lives. But here they think that 6 or 7 or 10 or 20 US troops will create a rally around the flag effect, but it's not. It's the inverse of that in a sicker way. It's not that we can absorb more psychic damage or even the same amount. It's that we're so immune to violence now against Americans. Sandy Hook happened, and Columbine happened. Sandy Hook happened. School shootings happen all the time. Mass shootings happen all the time.
ICE just killed people
exactly
of Minnesota.
So you dragging out
American citizens and putting them into camps.
Yeah. So I'm seeing it when I watch, Fox News, Newsmax, even CNN and MSNBC, who are doing state-sponsored propaganda. By you dragging out a handful of American coffins, like they're trying to do right now, is not creating a rally around the flag effect. It's just going, well, I still got to pay rent, dog.
Yeah, more
like this isn't the 2000s where people were even doing okay. They're just like, that's for them. That's somebody else. At best, it's thoughts and prayers.
Yeah.
I mean, not to toot my horn, but nobody's giving the analysis that I'm giving of just like, no, these were actual people who were poor people just like us, who should have never been there. But at best, it's like rip, rest in pepperoni, thoughts and prayers. At worst, it's like, haha, get it how you live.
Yeah.
And it's like,
they're trying to do a global world on They're trying to do a global war on terror without 9/11. Like, what the hell? What are you doing?
Yes.
But like even and I do think it's like important to like also like look at how the United States is using these like, you know, largely astroturfed insurgent movements that were happening a couple of months ago alongside the Iranian diaspora population, which is one of the most like pro-American imperialism groups of people that exist on this planet, and essentially saying like, oh, we need you to rise up and overthrow.
That gives the game away right there.
Yeah. So it gives the game away, one, and then also like, oh yeah, you know what's going to make us want to make you rise up and overthrow your oppressors or whatever? Us bombing a school with 100 children in it.
Yeah,
that's going to make you. That's going to make you support us and not your regime. Like you're actually moving people that already hate them to our side, to their side more.
Yeah, I mean, but no, don't think about it like that. Think about it like this, man. Like, there's a really easy way to assure that like women's civil rights are not abused in Iran. It's to kill little girls to make sure they don't grow up to be women. It's the best way to do it. I'm sure those little girls and their families, I'm sure they feel so much more free that those little girls' souls have been liberated from their bodies. And that comes to another thing. Don't, you know, people who are listening to this, don't let them, you know, these people are going to come at you and they're already starting. I see a little bit and it's getting tamped down. So I'm really kind of impressed. But it's like, oh, you just brutal dictatorship in Iran and they kill all these people. Like, these people give a damn about any Iranian person and at all. And I think why so much of this is backfiring too is because you see, I was watching Nick Fuentes the other day talking about with his limited Rumble crowd, talking about, oh, y'all need to vote for Democrats because, you know, the Republican Party and the MAGA movement has lied to us. And what he's trying to, and what he's really trying to say is, yeah, he's saying that, oh, it's because the regime, the current administration is not fascist enough for him. But what he's really trying to communicate, if you listen and read between the lines, is that, look, we live in a fascist government now. We live in the Fourth Reich, and my life still sucks. At least Hitler built the Autobahn and the trains ran on time. We don't get any spoils of war. We don't get any benefit here. The white people, you know, the white race that's supposed to be defended by the Stephen Millers and the Pete Hegses of the world are getting nothing out of this. You know, and it's just humiliating. It's
the Marjorie Taylor Greene line.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just see more and more people that I would never agree with politically being like, well, you know, 3 F-15s fell out of the sky, but yet I don't have health care. And I'm like, brother, you sound like a leftist, but
I can agree with you on that argument only.
I know, it's crazy. And the old vet in me, the old grumbly vet, I'm telling you right now, here's my plan, because anybody under the age of 40 who, and I've said this before on this very show, who before we even got into this hot war, anybody under the age of 40 who wants to sit here and talk greasy, talk slimy about, oh, you know, they had it coming and this and that, and I hope they blow Tehran to the moon and aim Israel high. I'm like, well, then you need to go visit your local recruiting station. And you need to tank the ASVAB to make sure that you get into a combat role. Because if you're not doing that, you need to, you know what I'm going to start doing? I'm not even kidding about this. So when I encounter these people, and I saw this on I saw somebody trying to talk like that, and I replied to him with that exact same thing I said on a PSL, you know, Party for Social Liberation page here in New Orleans. And I said, you know, until you're ready to do that, I'm going to need you to drink a tall glass of SCFU. And I'm going to start doing this. All these local recruiters, Air Force, Navy, Marine Corps, I'm going to get their information. I'm going to start printing off little business cards for them on my own. And I'm going to go, give me your phone. I'm going to say, pick one of these, give me your phone, and let's call them right now and get you in the system. Because you look like you're talking like you want to go do something. And they got all you can eat. You want to go do that? Be my guest. But until you're ready to do that, please shut up. Please shut up, because I don't want to hear about it. You're a paper tiger. You're a chicken hawk. No worse than, you know, Lindsey Graham, who's in the closet talking about he's going to avenge the Marine Corps barracks bombing in 1983. Man, if you don't get out of here with that, you miss me with all that.
As we kind of come to our close, anything on the way out, Robert?
I don't know, man. I'm just feel raw. Like I don't know how to feel. Like I said, I feel terrible because I'm watching this war take place on Telegram like a news junkie. People are dying on both sides, all sides. I mean, the only people I can really hate are just like they say. I don't know. They say well, why would they bomb civilians or why would they target civilians in Dubai? Mm-hmm. Here's a hot take. Iran? No, yeah. Why would Iran do that? Here's a hot take. If you got the money to go to a slave place where they have slaves and you want to go there and spend your money in your free time, I don't think you're a civilian. Sorry about it.
Well,
Sorry about it.
Also,
sorry
like,
about it.
Even if you don't think that,
like,
there are literal, like, even if you don't think that, like, there are military assets that are being used to launch the war in Iran that just went off. Why would Iran leave those places off the attack map?
Like, and that's the thing. They're not hitting civilian targets. What's happening is, so let's say you're stationed in Qatar, right? Well, they've emptied out the base, but they're stationing they're bivouacking, which means giving, all the troops in these hotels. Yeah. Iran knows what they're doing. They just hit a CIA installation in KSA. So it's
they're doing
intel. This is not a middle of the mall country. This is not
and also if you remember, like, what does Israel always say about Gaza? That they're using civilians as human shields. That's literally what the United States is doing. That's literally what Israel has done in Tel Aviv for how long? By having military bases among the military installations among the city. Like, of course, like they're just every accusation is a confession.
That 100%.
So as we're back from hiatus, we're gonna keep the show rolling. I'm doing it from the road, so if my internet is floppy, it's because I'm on a hotel Wi-Fi.
That's what's happening. Yeah, it's a hotel Wi-Fi while you scratch.
And let me tell you something. Every hotel I go to, the Ethernet never works ever.
Oh, ever. I know.
But yeah, you can check us out every week on WHIVLP New Orleans 102.3. You can check us out on this space. You can check us out on our website, goodmorningcomrade.com. Robert, tell the people bye.
Bye. Stay safe out there.
Yeah. End all wars. End this war.
Jesus Christ. End all wars.
Yeah. We love you. Bye.